Hey guys, it's Paul from Freedom Gorilla, and today we're going to cover the EPS, MRS, and the 509T. I'm going to try to make the video quick because there's really only a couple things I want to highlight, and I think the reason you'd be looking at a video like this is because you're interested in a closed emitter optic, and on paper the 509T and the EPS MRS look very similar. They're very similar price points, so you're probably wondering which one should you get. Well, I'm hoping to answer that with this video, so keep watching and we'll get into it. Both of these optics are available on our website, freedomgorilla.com, with free shipping. What's the difference between the 509T and the EPS MRS? Also, I do just want to say that in this video, I'm using a pretend EPS MRS because this one doesn't have a solar panel. The EPS MRS would, and it would also have the MRS reticle. This one, for demonstration purposes, is actually the 6 MOA green dot version, but we'll use our imagination and pretend that it's an MRS version. So what's the difference between them? The main difference is that the 509T is made out of titanium, and the EPS MRS is made out of aluminum. Both strong materials, both very durable. However, the titanium is going to be significantly stronger. The EPS has a 1.5 MOA adjustment per click. The 509T has a 1 MOA adjustment per click. So 509T is a little bit better there. The other thing that you're going to interpret either as good or bad is that the EPS MRS has 8 daylight brightness settings and 4 night vision brightness settings, whereas the 509T has 10 daylight brightness settings and 2 night vision brightness settings. So which one do you prefer? The EPS MRS has an IPX8 rating, and the 509T has an IPX67 rating. These are the waterproof ratings. IP67 means that this optic, the 509T, can be submerged in up to 3 feet of water for 30 minutes. The IPX8 rating means that the EPS MRS could be submerged in water under pressure for an extended period of time. The waterproof rating of the EPS MRS is superior than the 509T. However, if you're not going to be going swimming or scuba diving, I doubt that that matters to you. What are some of the other things that you can't really tell unless you look at them together? Well, the main thing is that the EPS MRS is much lighter. So the 509T is pretty heavy. One thing to know about Holosun is just because it's titanium doesn't mean it's lighter. They actually use titanium to make it stronger. So the other thing is that both of them will mount on a RMR footprint, which I didn't know. So the EPS actually comes with an RMR plate, and the 509T comes with an RMR plate. The difference is the 509T's RMR plate is steel, the EPS's is aluminum, so it's way lighter. Aside from that, the sights are both different weights. So the EPS MRS with this adapter plate come in at about 1.6 ounces on my scale. The 509T with the steel adapter plate come in at 3.5 ounces. So the EPS is about 2 ounces lighter than the 509T. So that's pretty significant. They both have shake awake. They both have solar panels. They both have 50,000 hours of battery life. And they both take very similar batteries, although they're not the same. So the other thing that is a very big deal, in my opinion, almost as big of a deal as weight, is the deck height. So what I was very surprised about is the EPS deck height is extremely low. So take a look there. You can see how low it actually is, okay? So that means if you were to use the EPS on your gun, you're going to get a better visibility of your iron sights potentially. The other thing to understand is that this 509T actually, always pretty much needs this adapter plate unless you had your slide milled. Whereas this EPS has a K-series footprint on the bottom, but you can also mount it to the RMR, which is a great idea. I'm glad they did that. But once you take a look at the deck height with the plate and with no plate, you can see it's very significant. So, which one would I get? Well, I think the 509T is pretty awesome. So I'm a little biased. But the lightweight of the EPS and the superior waterproof rating, although that's not a big deal to me, it's kind of hard to argue with. I mean, 1.5 MOA adjustment isn't as good as the 1 MOA adjustment, but I could probably live with it. So me personally, if I had an everyday carry pistol that I wanted enclosed emitter on with an MRS reticle, I'd get the EPS MRS, just for that lighter weight. But if I wanted kind of a modular, super rugged, super durable optic, then I would go with the 509T. And, I guess if I was trying to put it on a rifle as well, I might lean toward the 509T just because that 1 MOA adjustment probably would factor in better on a rifle than, the 1.5 MOA of the EPS. So that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the main things I wanted to explain to you. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'd like to know, which one do you prefer, the 509T or the EPS? And why? Also, I do want to say that this comparison really only makes sense when you compare the MRS EPS and the 509T, because that's when the price points are similar. The EPS MRS is $30 cheaper than the 509T. But when you start talking about the EPS 6 MOA or the 2 MOA versions, then the EPS has a very big advantage because it's about $70 cheaper than the 509T. But you don't get the solar panel and you don't get the MRS reticle, which may or may not be a big deal for you. The other thing I want to mention is that this is the EPS full size. It is not the EPS carry. The EPS carry is made for micro compacts and subcompacts, and it's actually the same size as a K series. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you'd like to learn more about Holosun optics, check out our next video. And if you'd like to purchase either of these optics or any other Holosun optics at the best price with free shipping, check out freedomgorilla.com. See you later, guys, and thanks for watching.